Thank you, thank you. San Fernando. You know when you're going down San Fernando, down there only have tempo. PNM tempo. Because San Fernando is PNM, PNM, PNM. Ladies and gentlemen present here tonight, and those of you across the nation in Trinidad and in Tobago, and wherever you are, tonight you could not help but observe two things. One, you could not help but observe the quality of the representation presented by the People's National Movement in Harris Promenade. But you also could not notice that it's almost your bedtime. Given the activities that we've had tonight and the opportunity that we've taken to present all our candidates to you here, I have 10 minutes to tell you something. What you would have observed is the amount of young people from all over Trinidad representing all communities, mixed in with significant experience in a political party that takes responsibility for this nation. That is what you saw tonight in San Fernando. For some people, this doesn't matter. But this is what stands between doing badly, doing poorly, and doing well. Our country is doing well. That is not good news for some people, but it's very good news for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Political responsibility is the hallmark of the PNM. And let me tell you how we see our responsibility as a political party. Firstly, is to call to the nation to take responsibility for the country. Nobody's going to come from outside and pick up our thorns, clean our garbage, help us to raise our children. We took that responsibility from the British. We are independent Trinidad and Tobago. When things are going well, we must acknowledge that and make them go even better. When things are going badly, we must acknowledge that and try to rectify it. But at the level of citizens, we must take responsibility for our surroundings and our nation. That is the PNM. We also must believe that we're not here alone. Because we have a responsibility that we share with the whole nation, it is only the PNM that we do what I will tell you here now. We came out of an election in Tobago 2 Decembers ago. You know the score there? They had 15 seats, the PNM won 1. But you know, I as leader of the PNM government of Trinidad and Tobago, what did the PNM Prime Minister do? Our party having lost 14 seats in a 15-seat assembly. You know what we did? I called the cabinet together and I selected about half of the cabinet. Finance, Attorney General, Works, Tourism, Public Planning and Development, and I went to Tobago. I went to the swearing in of the 14 people who won the election and our one. I went to the swearing in. But after we've lost and others were in charge, because I have the responsibility of Trinidad and Tobago, the PNM leadership has to make sure and wants to see that Tobago succeed. It didn't matter who was the government in Tobago, who was in the assembly in Tobago. As Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, I took the cabinet to Tobago because I observed that of the 14 people who won the election, not one of them had any experience in government. And that was a recipe for disaster. They didn't know A from bullfoot in governance. They could bar talk the PNM, they could talk old talk, they could do what they want, they could get you to vote for them. Election day come and go on. The day after election, Kaka walked into Tobago. Who in charge? But I didn't want Tobago to fail. The people of Tobago must get the benefit of what the country has to offer. So we went there, and I spent the time providing guidance, advice, and a commitment to assistance to the Tobago House of Assembly, where we only had 2 people. They had 14 plus 3, that is 17. Understand? That is what a PNM government, a PNM political movement does. Because we believe in Trinidad and Tobago, and we are not here for ourselves. As Prime Minister, we met people in office appointed by the former government. And once we believed that they had quality and something to offer, you're a citizen, the door is wide open, we are the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and you're welcome to participate in our development and our opportunities. And that is why today, the chairman of FCB is a former NAR Attorney General. We didn't only meet him there, we reappointed him and reappointed him because we are satisfied with what he's doing in the bank. That is why today, the chairman of NP is a former UNC member of Parliament. But we made a mistake too. We appointed Gary Griffith, a former UNC minister, a former advisor to our Prime Minister. And that was a mistake. Today, I see no difference between him and those with the bracelet on the foot. None. But that's for another time. So here we are tonight, late night, talking about local government reform. Tonight, your member of Parliament for San Fernando West made a point, and I want to re-emphasize that point for you. Local government reform, the main kernel in that is management improvement. Improvement in the management of your affairs, not my affairs. Your affairs. You heard your MP tonight outline in dollars and cents the expenditure of a development program in San Fernando, which feed backwards to you billions of dollars in one area of the country, San Fernando, while other areas may not be on the same size and scale, but development is taking place all over Trinidad and Tobago. Our national budget is $1 billion thing, multi-billion-dollar thing. You know how many years Dr. Williams was in Prime Minister office, Chief Minister office, before $1 billion was in front of the government as a budget? But today in this country, billions and billions and billions and billions. San Fernando, how you could manage properly billions of dollars in expenditure, billions of dollars in assets, billions of dollars in ideas and programs with the same old systems from colonial days? How could you? We inherited the local government system. It was the county council. Then it became the regional corporations. Now we're talking about giving them more management responsibility, because that is what your situation requires. So that is the issue in the campaign. But I am not surprised that we are the only people in this election talking about the issue of local government reform, what it means and what it must mean and what you must do on August 14th. You know the reason why? Because those who are actually in office to be a part of the program, like the Tobago situation where there's some other political party that is part of the program. In fact, they are the main program, but we are there with them. You would have heard our minority leader and our minority councillor in Tobago, doing their job in Tobago to make sure that the Tobago business stays on track. We don't sulk and go away because we've lost an election or try to undermine Tobago because we're not in office. Because we know on a level playing field, you give us a chance in any race and the PNM will win. And if we don't win, we go and train harder and we come back for the next race and the PNM will win. So we don't have to undermine this country to get into political office. I remember I was there when the PNM lost an election for the first time, 33-3. There were 3 of us in the house, 33 of them. And we stand in front of them mano mano. And the next election, the PNM was the government. I was in Tobago, went on 3 occasions, 12 seats in the assembly, 11-1 PNM has won, 11-1 PNM has won, 11-1 PNM has won. We never gave up. We never shirked our responsibility. We stuck with our policies, our programs, our party and our people. And one night, in an election, the PNM won all 12 seats. That is the PNM's record. What is the UNC's record? What is their record? I'm amazed at how they enjoy the bad news of the criminal elements' behavior in Trinidad and Tobago. We admit, we acknowledge, like everybody else is acknowledging, that violent crime is a problem of the government of the day, not only in this country. We admit that we have to face it on a daily and an hourly basis. And some of the actions of the criminals, your children, your own children, murderers that you bred, yours, our society, our citizens are doing things to us that are even shocking us. Horrible criminal conduct. We can't turn a blind eye to that. But I tell you, when that is your entire election campaign, then you have nothing to offer the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You will expect that from now until August 13th, the PNM will be advocating, encouraging you to accept, to understand, and support local government reform. I just got from my usual sources the UNC plan for the campaign between now and election. Here's the plan. On a week-by-week basis, we'll dedicate it to crime, fear, and PNM incompetence. It would be a series of documentary-style productions using footage of killings, a series of ordinary man-on-the-street interviews, and victims, families of victims of crime that focus on actual examples of police incompetence and lack of police response that pivots to ridicule of Fitz and Erla. Fitz is Fitz-Hines, the Minister of National Security, and Erla is the Commissioner of Police. Both with news stories and travel advisories. High-intensity radio in the last week. High-intensity TV and print campaign on crime. Gary will be the forward platform speaker on this and be featured in pieces. Fitz will be the main focus on the print and TV ads. The plan is to plunge the country into total terror and make the population fearful of PNM indifference on crime. Use a multiplicity of statements of Fitz that crime is not government responsibility and other hands-off statements to position. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the alternative election campaign to the PNM's campaign of local government reform. That is the UNC. So, I don't believe in palm reading. I don't believe in going to see a man to find out what's going on. But when I get it and I read it, I believe that is what they're going to do because they publish it, they print it, and I read it for you. That is their campaign. You know why? Because as we built the road to where we are now, calling the population to come and do your duty and vote for or against local government reform. They have been objecting to it long time. I could point to you to Ken Valley in the cabinet of the PNM who pushed local government reform. I could point to you Franklin Khan who worked on and pushed local government reform, PNM. I could point to you Hazel Manning in the Manning cabinet. Who can they point to in the cabinet of any of that government that wasn't PNM, that local government was an issue or a priority? None. And that is why, as we have brought the issue to where it is now, to ask you, the people, to make your choice, leave it so or fix it. They can't come now and support local government. So you know they print a handbook, a handbill which they're handing out. Suddenly they want to give you the impression what they will do in local government, as if they are not and were not in local government. We in the PNM, we control 7 corporations. The UNC controls 7. We both as political entities, we know local government experience. So when you see the UNC coming out and putting in pamphlet and telling you, they will, as part of their campaign now, they're telling you now, they will hire 1,000 police officers. UNC, you're late. That was the PLM campaign in 2019. We said we will hire 1,000 police officers and make them available to the corporations. I can tell you tonight, we have delivered on that. We already have hired and trained and put into local government 747 municipal police officers. As I speak to you now, another 47 are in training, and we have a last 200 coming into training in September. That is the PNM's promise. That is what it's done. They're now putting that in pamphlet as offering to you. That is their offering now. They can't even copy properly. They think done, it done. But you see, they have 7 corporations getting the same kinds of resources that the PNM corporations get. But you know what the approach is? Just as I've read there for you for the campaign, to come to undermine, to mismanage, to misrepresent, to create, as they say, terror in the country. Their approach is to damage your well-being, your peace and good order. So even where they have control, I am being told now by UNC councillors who worked in the UNC who are now leaving the UNC and coming to the PNM. Some of them are telling me that the policy the UNC follows in local government is to tell their councillors, even where they have resources, do not use them, because if they are used in your district, it will make the government look good. Would you believe that? We all never have enough resources, but what they have is complainants, and that is why, that's the policy they're following. I didn't follow that policy. I could have sat back and said, leave Farley and his people in Tobago to make mistakes, and when they make mistakes, it will make the PNM look good. But as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, I want Trinidad and Tobago to look good, so I don't want them to make those mistakes. But their policy in-house is to tell them, don't do what you can do, and find as many opportunities to blame the government. As soon as rain fall and water in the road, flood politics, right? Flood politics to your waist, right? They love that. Penal DB Corporation grind to a halt to tell the country, we can't do anything because we don't have diesel to put in our vehicles. The Minister of Finance came out and said, but I told that corporation, use the money that you have in unspent balance. You are authorized to spend the money. The Penal DB Corporation under the UNC that they own Penal DB, right? They refused the instructions to spend money that they had in hand. but prefer to come on television every night to tell you they can't go and pick up garbage, they can't use their backhoe because they have no fuel, but they're not telling you that they tried that and the minister intervened and tell them spend the money. Huh? They have Sandy Grande Corporation calling in the press to tell the press they can't use the playing field in Sandy Grande because they can't cut the grass. So if you can't cut the grass and you can't put diesel in your vehicle, who the hell wants you in charge of their affairs? What you go there for? You heard tonight from San Fernando development program. Chaguanas can make the same statements that significant sums of money, central government money, being spent in Chaguanas, and Chaguanas is developing the same way San Fernando is developing. I am so proud tonight to stand here in our nation's second city and hear a report from central government about the development that's taking place in our second city under PNM government. Because we don't have the option in the PNM to undermine anybody to get political support. We get political support from 1956 to now by telling you about the future, the road ahead, plans and programs, and how good you could be if you take up your bed and walk and follow the PNM instructions. That's how we do it. And for decades we ran this country, from a colonial backwater to today. We are the envy of many. Trinidad and Tobago is a nation to be proud of. So let the underminers, and the dog returning to his vomit, let them be that. We are not that. We have to rely on you, the people, to see sense from nonsense. But the danger, there's a danger in their policy. I want to remind this country, in 2019, election week, election season, a woman left home in Santa Cruz to go on Charlotte Street to buy something to cook her husband a special dinner. It was his birthday. She was shot on Charlotte Street by a handful of punks who were sent there to shoot indiscriminately. Remember that story? Shooting at nobody in particular. Just go and shoot up Charlotte Street. To be able to say that the government lost control of crime and police are doing this, and that was part of somebody's campaign. That woman's husband today, I'm sure he's still grieving. His wife never made it back home. So when you hear how much they intend to rely on crime and crime news, all you be careful. All you be careful. Because I'm telling you something. We in this country, we do have a violent crime problem. Our police, men and women, unlike police of an earlier era, their job now, in this era where the world, especially the Western world, is a place of guns and ammunition, whether it's St. Lucia, Jamaica, Barbados, United States, all of a sudden, there's an explosion of violent gun crime. So you know what police officers have to do when they go on the job? Many of them, their job is to go out there and confront a man and even a woman with gun who are not afraid to use it. And what do you use guns for? To kill people. That is police job today. When you are a police officer now, you ain't going to traffic now anymore, you know. It's gunmen. The bulk of our police officers on the street now, you never know who you're going to confront. Night or day, round a corner, in a car. And that is what we have to do. So what did we do as a government? We resourced the police service. We're supporting the police service 100%. But there are those who will have you believe that Rowley and Hines have a direct responsibility to go and prevent somebody unknown. As I'm talking to you now, there's a good chance that there's somebody somewhere in this country right now planning to kill somebody before daybreak. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. And when we get the news in the morning, it's really my fault. I hear talking to you. I should have been there to prevent that. But you know what the government does? The government went to the source of the problem. Because we don't make guns here. We don't make ammunition here. We went to the source of the problem. And we told the Americans, your country is supplying my country, legally and illegally, with firearms to the extent where your firearm supply is threatening the national security of our country. We raised that argument at high levels in the United States. The end result of that is this. Before, you could have bought a gun in one state and drive it to another state. Today, if you do that, cross a state, that is now a federal crime for the first time. And it means that all the federal agencies of the United States government will come down upon you. And worse, if you come on the border and you export a firearm or ammunition to Trinidad and Tobago or anywhere else, that is now a federal crime. As a result of that seemingly small change, it means that we now in Trinidad and Tobago have the support and the involvement of all the federal agencies in the United States to fight the problem at its source. I can tell you tonight, already 3 people have fallen prey to the US federal authorities, 2 Trinidadians and 1 American, for supplying handgun ammunition to Trinidad and Tobago. And as this grows, only recently, a week ago or thereabouts, I was in a meeting with the Minister of National Security and our experts and the American experts, where the American government has undertaken, and we have agreed to accept it, to create within our police service what we call vetted units. Vetted units, meaning groups of special police officers, men and women, who are vetted to ensure that their integrity is intact. Because one of the problems that we have is that there are too many criminals in the police service. So when you're going after the non-police criminals, they have their friends in the police service to tip them off, and we have to have vetted units. And I'm telling this country that we are prepared to pay extra to police officers in those vetted units if they will maintain their integrity and help us to root out the criminals in the police service, in the customs, in immigration, and in the parliament. So they want to talk crime. Crime and criminals are not only on the corners, you know. They're inside the parliament. Inside the parliament. So when they talk, it just boils my blood when I see them, because I know them have questions to answer. Them have questions to answer. And here the answer. The answer is to flood the country with guns. Nobody is saying that our citizens can't get firearms. We have a system. The same way the Americans are saying to us, you have to have vetted units where you have people who could pass a polygraph test, who you examine on a regular basis to make sure they preserve their integrity, because information, confidentiality is a matter of life and death. I distinctly recall a commissioner of police telling me that he planned a raid many years ago, and when they were supposed to be at the place where the raid was supposed to take place, as they arrived in the office, the phone started to ring in the office. He, the police officer, took up the phone and answered it. And it was somebody saying, they're coming, they're coming. And he said, yes, I reach. It's a police officer calling to tip off the criminal. We have those. We have to get rid of them, because they put our lives in danger. The ones that have the integrity that you want, you got to protect them. You got to increase their numbers, because we are now in a life and death struggle with the criminals in this country. It's a small number of them. But how many law-abiding citizens are making decisions to kill anybody in this country? None. But a small number of other people are making that decision. You prepared to go to work from 7 in the morning till 4 in the evening and wait for a fortnight to get paid. There's somebody who don't want to spend 1 hour on the job. They want the money and they want it now. And they'll put a gun to your grandmother's head. They put a gun to the pensioner's head. That's what we're facing. And I'm saying tonight, as we face this, I'm calling on the citizens, especially parents and members of families. Some of you know who is doing it. Some of you are providing them with cover, and some of you don't care until death and destruction come to your door. The same way I'm saying to you now, that local government is your responsibility. If you have information that could save us from the criminal element, you have a responsibility to assist the police with information. Information. This is not 1962 according to Tony Lee. It's not 1971. It's 2023. And our answer is not some crazy, drunken political leader who telling you, put her in parliament and she's going to pass a law called Stand Your Ground. Many of you, many of the victims of crime don't even know the ground they're standing on when they get killed. Far less to have to stand your ground. So in other words, it's going to be the Wild West, Jesse James and the brother Frank, and it's who could shoot better than who. That is what they're telling us, you know. Flood the country with guns and you will know how to shoot to save yourself. I am saying that policy has failed and there's no way it is failing more than in America. And if you don't believe me, watch the American news. You know what stand your ground means? It means that you have a blanket right to kill anybody that you're afraid of or who threaten you. Of course, you would say, I have the gun to protect myself. But there's a side to that. I was talking to a businessman today who told me he's in Florida and he's fishing with some other people. They're fishing off the jetty. And if the hook drifts in the current and goes to the next jetty, nobody could go there to unhook it, you know. Because if you go there by that jetty and the owner of that jetty shoots you, police are not to ask him because you came by his jetty. He understands your ground cover. He could shoot you. You have seen the news about people using stand your ground law. America has it in some states. They're trying to get rid of it because it allows people to abuse other people under the guise that they were protecting themselves. That is the offer of the UNC. And people who saw firearms license as business and profit, them telling you, they are the expert in national security. And somehow, the answer is more gun and more firearm license. You apply for a firearm, you get vetted, and the police clear you, and you could get a firearm license. That's how it was. That is how it was when Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa was Prime Minister. She was Prime Minister for 5 years. She never changed or mentioned the whole question of availability of guns. But since then, there are people who want gun, want gun, want gun. But of course, I'm not saying that there are not people who want and who should get. There's a system to deal with that. But that system has been corrupted by the system itself. That system has been corrupted, I can tell you, by the police. So politicians coming now and playing games with it and telling you, well, we're going to give everybody gun. That is hell Gunpowder House. You people of Trinidad and Tobago, as Orville London would say, you're big and you have sense. Pay attention to what is happening to you. Pay attention. Tonight, I don't want to keep you too late here. You've been a wonderful audience. You are a wonderful party. You are wonderful party members and supporters. Go out there and support your candidates. You would have seen them all. You've seen men, you've seen women, you see young, you see old, you see strong, you might even have seen weak. But I tell you, from Erin to Blanchisseuse, from Carenage to Sangre Grande, from Carapichaima to San Fernando, on the 14th of August, anybody who wants to vote in support of local government reform, there's a PNM candidate of quality that you can cast that vote for. We will count victory based on what you do. It's an offer. The change is an offer. The management that is required to manage billion-dollar development, billion-dollar cities, billion-dollar corporations cannot be jokey part-time people who are not interested. They will tell you in the UNC side that after election day, Many of their councillors never even bother to pick up any responsibility for anything in the corporation because they belong to a safe seat. So they don't care what they do. In fact, many of them are being returned now. The intention was to change them, but when nomination day came, they had no candidates to replace them, so they had to put them up again. You know them more than I know them. You know where they are, but they feel they own the seat. They feel they own your vote, and because the seat named so and so, there is no safe seat in 2023 because the victory is going to be won. It's either for local government or against local government. The victory is either for local government reform or against local government reform. If the result comes in against local government reform, it will be a disaster indeed in Trinidad and Tobago. It's not the first time that something good is on offer and political parties opposed to the PNM, opposing for opposing's sake. They don't care if the people suffer in the process. So let's watch them and watch their behavior in the next few weeks as they seek to make crime and criminal reports the issue. That is an issue, but it is not the issue. Your issue is whether your mayor and your executive council has the responsibility, the resource base, the policy and the program to continue developing San Fernando, continue developing Kuva, Tabaki, Talparo. And a PNM government is open to working with anybody that you elect responsibly to change the country for the better. That has been the history of the PNM. And that is why we've moved this country from a colonial backwater to independence to Republican status. We are now to host the Commonwealth Junior Games. Tonight I invite all of you, people of Trinidad and Tobago, we are hosts of the Commonwealth Junior Games that gets started, I think, on the 4th of August and it goes into election week. Do two things. Support Commonwealth Junior Games at the stadium, wherever it's taking place, at our various stadia. And do so and vote PNM, and that will make you know that you are Trinidad and Tobago. Let them leave here with an experience that they will always remember those young people. Some of them, you'll see them in the Olympics, including our own people. Trinidad and Tobago hosting the Commonwealth Junior Games. There are those who will tell you Trinidad and Tobago is not a real place. Anytime you hear that, you know who talking. Somebody with nothing to contribute. Because if you could ask if your house is a home, you have nothing to contribute. You will thief from your own pot. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a time for citizens to get up. And what I am particularly proud about is the extent to which young people, understanding these issues, are leaving the has-beens behind and making their way to the PNM. Young people, come forward with the PNM and take responsibility for this country. You're welcome in the PNM. And when we do that, we do it in the full knowledge that a PNM victory is a victory for Trinidad and Tobago, moving forward confidently into a future where we have boundless faith. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your support for the PNM. As leader of the PNM, I am very proud of your support. San Fernando, you've been with us, and I want you to stay with us. Local government is now, what is happening here now in 2023 is a shift of authority, power and resources from central government to local government that was never attempted in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Now is the time. Now is the time. Grasp it with both hands. Grasp it with your voting finger and vote for the people's national movement. And when you would have done that, I know on election night, right here in Sando, right here on Harris Promenade, you'll make more noise, you'll be more red, and you'll be shouting, "Great is the PNM! Great is the PNM! Great is the PNM!" And we shall prevail.